another live reading for you guys. I do want to check my audio really quickly, make sure that my audio is good. Yes, my audio is good. Okay. Today I am back doing my using my Andromeda deck. My Andromeda deck really talks about themes of love from the Greek myth, Andromeda, um, and some other themes that I picked up from a piece of writing that I did about Andromeda in a painting by Odilon Redon called Andromeda. So I'm back reading from this deck. I'm also going to be reading from my Shadowscape deck as well as my Herbiary deck, Oracle Cards deck. So yeah, today I was like, everybody needs a love reading every now and then, like serious hardcore love reading. So I want to see like what we're going to get. And I'm just going to lay out a spread here while I'm doing that. I do want to mention that I'm still SOL for my housing, so please, if you can, any amount would really be helpful today, next day. I don't know how much farther into June I'm going to be booking. I've said pretty much everybody. I'm probably going to be booking readings through the 15th. After that, I'm going to be doing waitlist to see how things kind of roll, and if things change, then resume like normal basically. So if you'd like to donate, you can donate using the PayPal button, which is going to be in the description box once this is posted. I'm going to try to get that up today. You can also check out oracledaphne.com. It's got the link to PayPal, or you can send it through Venmo, which is at Oracle Daphne, or Cash App, which is the $ Oracle Daphne. Do want to tell you that I do have time for readings this week, so please, if you want to book a reading, now would be the time. And I'm trying to get everybody in, like I said, by like mid-June. That's like the plan. Yeah, and you're gonna want to check me out over on Instagram because I have been posting like a ton over there, different content that's than I do over here. Similar, obviously, because it's still my stuff, but I just did a reading about using my bridge deck over there, and I am trying to fundraise for Skydog Sanctuary. They're really awesome. They are they rescue Mustangs, and they're only trying to come up with $100. So if anybody wants to be supportive and support them, they are over there also. So yeah, excuse me. I really wanted to jump in and look to see what we get for themes of love. So I want to remind everybody that this Andromeda deck is kind of like the karmic lesson. It can be a little bit of tough. But the best way to think about this is think about it as, what I see for relationships, and we can learn from all of our relationships, and things can shift and change. So, we have the outcome for this spread as love as manifesting. The interesting part about this is that, sometimes manifest love basically out of nowhere. And I feel like people talk about this actually. People talk about how when it comes to love, that it happens when we're not expecting it. The reason it happens is when we're not expecting it is because we've let it go. We've let it go, and we've kind of just decided, okay, we're gonna do me, and you're gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on my life and do whatever and let it go. And it's basically like telling the universe you don't care. Like at this moment, it doesn't have to happen at this moment, and you're like, I'm not gonna care. And then what happens is like comes out of the blue, happens suddenly, and manifests because the universe functions in this really weird way. When you let go of something, it comes back. Okay, when you let go, it comes back. So it's sort of like when you detach from something, it can many times come back. The reason that is because there's quantum physics involved. We're not going to go into all of that, but it's not like with every detachment that person's going to come back, but if, let's just say, when you detach with love for somebody, they're going to feel that you're detaching, and then therefore kind of be drawn either back in, or for some not care, or just and move on. So it just depends on the person and the situation. But this theme is more of something manifesting because you've let it go. That's what I'm seeing here. So like, let's just say hypothetically, you're not thinking about it. You were doing you, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to continue to do me. It could happen where it manifests in either somebody from the past, or it manifests in a way where you're, uh, you know, you've already kind of worked on your manifestation. And I have to say, too, like for people that don't understand how manifestation works, you have to work on a manifestation. Okay. And by working on it, meaning say out loud, tell the universe what you want. You can write it down, you can burn it, you can, script it, many times if you want to. But then you have to let it go. Then you have to say, okay, I'm open. I've worked on this manifestation, and become actually open to what comes, and let go of the time frame. And then when you do that, then absolutely something will manifest. So some of you, to me, this is where somebody's been working on manifesting. Like if you're not in a position, like this probably not be the reading for you, but like say you're not in a position to want a love partner, or to want romance in your life, or to not want something with someone new, someone different. This is, again, not going to be applicable to you. This is applicable if you've been working on manifesting a person into your life. This could be a new person. For some, it's just trying to manifest another person, but I feel like it's more manifesting a new person. It will only manifest, and I want to clarify something. You'll only manifest a person back if you've detached from them, and they come back via their own free will, or for whatever reason you had some kind of strong cord of attachment to them, strong bond to them. Sometimes people are very controlling, and they don't like it when you detach from them, because then they can't get your energy. So that can happen as well. So this could be positive or negative depending on your situation. Okay, just want to clarify there. Okay, so let me see what other cards we've got. We've got a theme of waiting here. We have theme of love as abandonment. To me, this is the themes of love, which is about learning about, like, needing to have somebody love you for you, which is challenging, I feel, because a lot of times, like, people need somebody in their life. They're like, I want a girlfriend, I want a boyfriend, but they don't necessarily understand what they want, and they don't necessarily know the kind of even person that they want. They just know that they need someone. So like, it feels to me, for some of you that are watching, you need to be loved for you. But it doesn't necessarily feel like in this reading you're on track to having that, because for whatever reason you might date people that are just looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend, or just looking to get married, or just looking for a person to fill the space. To me, it's like a filling a space rather than wanting you. And this can happen. To me, this can happen when too much sacrifice is being made in a relationship, let's just say. And like, you're like, there are people that stay in relationships as sacrifice. They sacrifice what they want to be with another person. And that other person a lot of times takes advantage, because then they don't really see how much sacrifices are being made, and then therefore doesn't really, it's sort of like the energy of not being seen. To me, this is what it feels like to me today. Like, it feels like for some of you, you're not being seen by another person. Like, they can't see you. And it's interesting. The people that have been able to see me, like, and I feel like this is in general. In general, let's just say, the people that are able to see you are usually people who are in other relationships, because that other relationship occupies that box that they needed to check to fill the space. And once that space is filled, then it's like, oh, they're free to actually like not not be in their ego. Not be in their ego. They can just see somebody. They can just believe in somebody. They can just actually have something real. So this is a lot of times why people actually cheat, I feel, because they're not seen by a partner. Because for whatever reason, the relationship to a partner is about the ego. It's about fulfilling something that they want. It's not necessarily about them, or like the other person. Um, it's weird because we have this love as abandonment energy coming in from the outside. So some of you need to rewrite the story. There's two parts to this, actually, and I don't talk about this enough. Okay, in the story of Andromeda, the Greek myth, Andromeda is abandoned by her family. Okay, she's absolutely abandoned by her family. They chain her to a rock as a sacrifice. Okay, to this monster, and they leave her for dead. They chain her to a rock naked. Okay, and they leave her for dead. And the thing is that essentially she is abandoned, okay? But the thing is that she does get to rewrite her story. She does get to say, you know what, this is not how the story ends. This is not how things are going to go from here on out. This is not what I want, because Perseus comes down out of the sky and professes his love, unchains her from the rock, takes her to Greece and marries her. And so she's able to rewrite her story. It's not how the story ends. So for some of you, it's needing to rewrite, and my guides are confirming this, your story. Whatever your story is, let's just say hypothetically, you were married twice and maybe you don't believe in love. Maybe you're like, I've been married twice. I don't believe in love anymore. Love is dead. Like you need to rewrite your story. Let's just say, hypothetically, you've dated a lot of, frogs, and you've kissed a lot of frogs, and none of them have turned into princes, okay? You need to rewrite your story as well. Anybody who's like in a place where they're single and they're like, maybe somebody broke up with them, or maybe somebody divorced them, or maybe they divorced somebody else, or maybe they broke up with somebody else. It doesn't matter. Abandonment can happen a lot of ways, What we think of abandonment is not necessarily like the only definition, okay? So you guys need to like really think about what it is that you want your story to be. Because this whole manifesting thing only really happens when you rewrite your story. You have to know what you want. Like the whole process of abandonment is understanding what it is that you want via the contrast of what's no longer there. So like, let's just say you break up with someone, right? The contrast is how bad it sucks to no longer have that person in your life and what's no longer there. It creates like this hole, what's missing. And then you have to think about, okay, what is it that I really want? Do I really want a relationship? Do I really want to get married? Do I really want to have children? What is it that you really want? And it's interesting, the sun is in Gemini, and Gemini is really all about deciding what they want. And I've met many Gemini that just do not know who they are. They live through experiences. They have a lot of different, unique experiences, but they absolutely have no clue of what they want and who they are. So, you might be dealing with people, like you might have attracted people that just don't know what they want. They know that maybe they want to sleep with you, or maybe they know they want to date you, they want to talk to you. They don't know like really anything else. They don't know like the kind of person that they want to be with. They don't know the kind of life that they want to live. They have no idea. And it's really weird because when I was, I don't know, 16, um, I don't know, maybe 17. I think I was 16. I went to this party, okay? This was a long time ago, and obviously, and I went to this party, and everybody was on doing some kind of stuff, okay? And I wasn't into it, and I didn't do it, and I felt it was really dumb what they were doing. And it was at this beautiful house, okay, that had that was near the beach, that had this beautiful piano. My God, I mean, it was like probably one of the most gorgeous properties I've ever seen. It was landscaped amazing. And here I was sitting there with a bunch of dumb people doing dumb things and thinking to myself, I don't want to be here. I want to be the owner of this house. I want to own this house and have the experience of living in this house. And this is when I was 16 years old. So like some of you like don't even know, like you could be sitting there on a beautiful property and not know if you want that house or not. And it just, to me, there's a decision thing here. There's a lot of decision thing. It's partly about you deciding, okay, what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of person do you want to date? So like in my mind at that time, I was like, I want to date a certain kind of person and I want to live a certain kind of life. And the life that I want to live is I want to live in that house, that beautiful house, with that piano. I was like, that's what I want. And I knew at that moment via the contrast of what I didn't have and the fact that everybody was doing stupid things. So you might have like a wake up moment where you're like, I know exactly what I want. I'm not into whatever's going on around me. I'm not into it. Maybe you're not into the kind of people that you've dated in the past. Maybe you're like, these people have not done it for me. The other kind of person that I want to date is such and such a kind of person. So you're learning through the contrast of what you don't have. You're learning through what you're not getting. You are learning through the people that you're dating that aren't what you want. You're learning about what you want. Okay. Some of you really need to work on that. That's like my guides are like emphasizing really clearly that is the job. Now, some people need to make a list of all the things they don't want and then draw a little line on each one of those items to what the opposite is. So let's just say hypothetically, you don't want to date somebody who drinks alcohol. Okay. So then you would make a little line and say, I want to date people who are sober, who know how to handle limits, who know what boundaries are, who don't exceed their limits when they drink alcohol. So anything like that. That's what you do. Okay. Or you write down, okay, you want to live in a beautiful, or you don't, let's just say you don't want to hang out with people who are doing dumb, stupid things and taking dumb, stupid things into their body. Then you make a little line and you'd say, I want to hang out with people who are adding things into the planet, who understand regenerative farming, who get what it's like to want to live off grid or, make cheese from scratch or create your own soap, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to write down, if you know that you want to live in a beautiful house, then write down, I want to live in a beautiful house. But those of you who are experiencing contrast, and I feel like this is the love as abandonment is about the contrast of what you don't have, of what you're not experiencing, to knowing and understanding what it is that you want. Anybody with strong Sagittarius, Gemini in their chart is going to have this very, very much going on within their life. So, I mean, people like get upset about like why we're experiencing certain things, and we experience certain things to learn what it is that we want, to learn what it is that we don't want. And this is very key. This is key. In order to manifest what you want, you have to know what you want. So you have to write that down. And some of you need to like stop dating kind of like in a blind kind of way where you're like, okay, I'm just going to go out with you, blah, blah, blah. Like they have to be the kind of person that you want. You have to like them first. And I feel like, and I talked a little bit about this over on Instagram today, and it came up, and it's so weird. It's come up in the past as a thing that I've noticed is that you can be there's two different people. There's people that like go out on a date because they like someone and they want to have a relationship with them, and they're like trying to date to get to know them better and to like see if that could actually come to pass. And there are people that are dating because they don't know if they want to date that person, because they don't know if they want that person in their life. So they're dating to kind of figure out, like, do they even want to date you? They're dating to figure out if they want to date you. And it's kind of messed up, but that's kind of like how they're rolling. So it's like the people that are trying to figure out if they're wanting to date you, typically, those are people that you want to run from, because essentially they don't really have the decision making skills in order to decide if that they won't be able to see you, number one, and number two is they don't have the decision making skills to make the decision to be in a relationship with you. If they can't even figure out if they like you, how can they figure out if they want to be in a relationship to you? It's just not going to happen. So you got to figure out first, like, if you like someone, and then decide to date, and find out if somebody likes you and then decide to date. That's basically how it has to go. Or else you're just going to be kind of dating people that absolutely are clueless about what it is that they want. And it's just basically going to upset you because you're not going to get anything out of it. Like, you're not even going to like really enjoy the experience. So it's going to be an incredibly just not disappointing, but like incredibly challenging dating experience. Some of you are having challenges dating. That's what this to me is talking about. All this is talking about challenges in dating. The fact that we have this theme of waiting, which is in the position of attitude, tells me that you are either waiting for your person, you're waiting for your Mr. Right, you're waiting to go to meet somebody, to find somebody. To me, I've said this before and I'll say this again. Anytime I see a waiting that shows up is a sign, like in the position of attitude, is a sign of disempowerment. That means that you don't know what you want, so you're not going and getting it. That means you are at the mercy of the universe, taking its sweet ass time to deliver you something that you might like. And that means that you don't really have options. And when women, especially if I'm reading for females, okay, I could be reading for males, but like, let's just say hypothetically you're female, you're watching. My viewership is heavily female, okay? Let's just say you're female and you're waiting for your person. If one person comes by, like randomly, you're going to turn them down. You're going to be like, nah, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Because you're not going to really have anything else going. And you're going to be like picky about, because they aren't the idea of perfection that you're wanting. Okay. Essentially, if you have any ideals of perfection, I'm not saying everybody does, but like, let's just say you had ideals of perfection, you're going to shoot it down. Whereas if you were dating like 5 people, you're not going to basically say no to any of them. You're just going to date all of them. That's what's going to happen. So for some of you, you need to like up the numbers and how many people that you're dating and give yourself more options. But make sure the people that you are dating are people that you like. Personally, I only date 1 at a time. I cannot manage 5 people at a time. But I feel like in this day and age, I would encourage everybody to kind of, double, triple, quadruple up and see what happens. That way you're not turning everybody down and saying, no, I don't want something just because it's easy. It's easy to turn something down when it doesn't appear at first to be that great. And you're like, I'm going to turn it down because it's just not that great. And maybe you don't want it. But like, you don't know, like you have to go on dates first. You have to do it, So like to get to know people, because you never know, like somebody who, you don't know at first, you might get to know them and they might turn into your best friend, then might turn into your, partner for life. You don't know. So it's like, that is part of this. Okay. And I don't recommend anybody to wait. Wait for for nothing. Okay, life is too short to wait. So I would tell you no. Okay, so we're gonna look at this other side here and see what else we've got. I think my video kind of paused for. I was saying I told everybody to avoid waiting. Okay, to avoid waiting and wait for nothing. That's what the main message there from that. Okay, and I moved that over here, and we were talking about this other energy. Some of you feel very empty. I feel like you feel very, very empty. Like, maybe there was a person in your life that, filled up your cup and they're no longer there. I feel like you could be in between. Like you could be in between relationships where, you had a long-term relationship and then, you're kind of, maybe you've been dating and maybe it didn't work out and you're kind of in between relationships. It's kind of what it feels like to me. If love is the muse, love is resentment. I do feel like, okay, this is in the position of attitude, not attitude, sorry, the position of crowning is what's crowning you. Some of you, there's bitterness or resentment. I heard the word bitterness regarding any kind of things that have to do with third-party issues. Things that, maybe a cheating situation that went long-term and went badly. Okay, ended badly. When a long-term cheating situation goes long-term, when a cheating situation goes long-term, it can end very badly for some people. It's not good. So that could have happened for some of you. I feel like there's a lot of bitterness and resentment. Let's just say hypothetically, if you were dating someone and then they decided to date somebody else, like that they were dating other people and you didn't get picked for the team, that could be some resentment there. I also feel like some of you are just bitter. You're bitter about life, or maybe about people, or maybe about things that haven't worked out for you. There's all different kinds of resentment. And there was a video that I watched that talked about resentment, and it was probably the best video I've ever seen. And I have talked about this before. Like, working through your resentment is really, really important. I didn't really understand it until, more recently, how important that is. I feel like resentment is there as kind of a protective layer. We add that into our energy when we've been hurt. Okay. We're like, okay, we're going to resent because it kind of is like acts as like a buffer. But the thing is like, if we are approaching life still in our resentment, still with our walls up, if we're approaching people with our walls up, it's not really going to help us. You know what I mean? It's not going to help us manifest something new. It's not going to help us get into a new relationship where we're open and we're vulnerable and have a healthy partnership. The resentment's not helping. Where it was helping, and this is important, where it was helping, it was acting as a buffer so that you didn't get hurt immediately after something happened. So it gave you time to recover, let's just say, from getting hurt before. So let's just say hypothetically, you break up with someone. You become resentful and bitter after, because if somebody else came along right away and tried to break your heart, you'd be really, really vulnerable. You'd be really too open. And so it's important in some way, like the people that have the most resentment in some way are the most vulnerable. Or like they say the people that are the most stubborn are the most soft inside, and that's very, very true. In some way, it's like that stubbornness is like resentment. That stubbornness is like resistance. That is like a wall, that's like a buffer that prevents us from getting hurt, that prevents us from jumping into something right after we jumped out of something else. That prevents us from getting heartbroken twice, or two in a row, So it's very important actually to get into a place of bitterness, because that the next phase is where you're ready to date. It's a phase. So some of you are in this bitterness phase, but it's just a phase and you're going to be ready to date. You're just not there quite yet. Give it a little time. That's what I want to say for this. Now we've got a couple other themes here. We've got the love as the muse, which is a lack of caring and romantic idealism. Um, it's very male female, okay, very male female, where we have, the male energies, it's like they have a very, to me, it's like a focus kind of energy. Sorry, my camera's kind of going out of focus here. That's better. So like to me it's like what it ends up being is like a lack of caring, and the female energy becomes very upset or very disappointed because their romantic idealism is not met. It's not satisfied. It's like their need for romance is not met or not satisfied. So you could be dating people that just don't have an understanding of romance. And, I've been thinking about doing a video about this for a long time regarding romance. Like, I feel like people don't really even really fully understand what that is. Men especially. I have asked men, I've gone on dates and I've asked men, what do you think romance is? And I've gotten a lot of interesting responses, but it's not what I believe to be romantic. And it's not what we're taught through movies of what romance is. So again, I feel like for females, so the masculine approaching relationships is, in a lot of times, approaching a relationship from this perspective of focus and porn, okay, having their physical needs met. And the feminine is approaching relationships from the romantic idealism of, we're going to be together forever. He's going to propose on a romantic sunset. We're going to, join our families together and have a beautiful life together. And it's going to be like, a lot of sweet nothings whispered in your ear. And it's going to be, and it just does not, to me, it's like it's a contrast. It's very surprising how men and women get together, actually, because I feel like most men are actually in this place of porn, and most women I meet, especially that are single, are in this place of romantic idealism. If they're wanting a relationship, they're not anymore. Like, they're jaded. Like, you could be a jaded person. Okay, you could be jaded in the sense that, like, you're over relationships because potentially all you've been dealing with is someone who didn't understand didn't have a romantic bone in their body. They didn't understand what romance was. Maybe for some people, for some men actually think that sex is romantic, like sex is romance. So that whole conversation about what romance is like a whole conversation for another time, but this is very important. Okay. And some people think that relationships are, with male, female are, again, this is a very perspective, okay, where it's just about romance, where essentially sex is not a factor. Like, sex is something outside of the romance. So to me, it's like, again, a thing about contrast here, And, there are some very romantic men out there, very romantic. And there are some very, like, non-romantic females out there as well. And so this is where, I would probably tell you to get a private reading if you're kind of trying to figure out, okay, am I going to only date this kind of person? But again, you could be meeting only a certain type of person. You could have some astrology, which is essentially like where you're gonna attract a certain type of person. But I would go as far as to say, like, 99% of men who are single and are dating, I would say, are in this place of porn in their head. Like, that's what they're thinking of relationships as. Okay, having their physical needs met. Do they care so much about their emotional needs? Probably not as much. Do they care about the romantic sunset? Like maybe a little. I've never actually met a man who was like really like, I'm so excited to go on a romantic trip with my partner. It's going to be romance under the sunset. We're going to drink wine and we're going to listen to music. I mean, that's just not how men operate. So I feel like for some, this is kind of a lesson in understanding how the opposite sex operates. For the men who are watching, this is understanding how women operate, and how for women, this is understanding how men operate. And this is going to help you date better, because then you're not going to be so like, why are they behaving this way? Like, why are they doing this or saying this? It's like, you know, um, I don't know. Like, it's just not on the male mind. Okay. For many men. Um, it's sort of just something like it's an afterthought, okay, for many, many men. That's from my understanding. Now, if you know somebody who's male and is like super gung ho about romance, please let me know. Okay. Um, People get proposed to all the time. People fall in love and have romantic trips all the time. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying when you approach a relationship, understand that this is going to be what you're dealing with, especially in the beginning of a relationship, until you really build a relationship up, and have conversations about what romance is. I feel like a lot of people get very stuck in this one spot. Um, Love is restriction and love is a twist. Um, I do feel like I'm reading for someone who already has a relationship to somebody else. Maybe you're one of those people that's in a relationship and wanting to know if their Mr. and Mrs. Right is going to come by. And typically, I tell people you've got to end a relationship first in order for that to happen. It just doesn't make sense, and it's not fair to anybody, really. Um, it's just not. It's just not fair. I'm gonna put these cards away. I was gonna pull some other cards and see what else I get using one of my other decks, so I'm gonna do that. We have the King of Wands showing up and the Emperor. To me, these are two masculines. Okay, they feel like they're two masculines. So Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. This actually, the King of Wands can be any fire sign, but it can also be. I've seen this also as a Capricorn male. I've seen this also as a Taurus male. Anybody who has a lot of like fire energy or energy in their chart could be any sign actually. But see, this is two masculines. And then we have what's coming in for the lady. I mean, it's for the males. We've got the Queen of Pentacles, so Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, and we've got the Temperance card, which to me is about frustration more so, and like getting upset, being upset. You'll notice in this reading, I don't see any actual like what I would call relationships cards, except for the Three of Pentacles. We have the Three of Pentacles coming in. The Three of Pentacles, though, is more of like a boyfriend and girlfriend energy. Some of you may have had problems with a boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't necessarily feel like the relationship's going to end, but I feel like some of you are trying to decide. Like if you're married, you're trying to decide, do I get out of this? Some of you are like wanting to know if you should leave a relationship because it's becoming toxic. We have the devil here. Maybe they have drinking problems. Maybe they have substance issues. Maybe they just have really bad habits. The devil is bad Well, yeah, and what I mean by relationship cards is we don't have any Two of Cups. We don't have the Lovers at all. So it's like it's hard for me to say 100% that that we're gonna have like a relationship as an outcome. I feel like many of you are working on some of the issues that maybe couples have when you're in a relationship. Maybe some of the going back to reflecting what I said before about working through issues that you may have in dating. Mm. I feel like many of you are in contact with a person. You may be in contact with multiple people because the Four of Cups as an outcome is just like, where are things going? Well, you may end up texting them. You may end up messaging them. I feel like some of you are clinging very close, like clinging on to a person that you need to let go of. Or you may be texting a person who has issues with money or issues with finances, or you worried about your finances at this time, which is again unrelated to love. The themes of love in this whole reading was supposed to be about love, and I don't really see a lot of that happening here. I feel like again we have a lot of issues, more issues. We have the Seven of Cups and the Four of Wands, which to me is about moving, being really happy with a move. So some of you may be going through a move or plan to be going through a move. Some of you are very focused on career at this time also. I'm going to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. This reading, I'm not getting anything else from these cards here for this. There's a lot of stuff with the kids. I don't know if you can hear the screaming kids in the background. I don't know what's going on with them. Let me see. Pull some of these other cards here. We do have the Rose, which talks about love. Mullein, which to me talks about moving and kind of having a lot of options for dating. This card, when this card comes up, to me it talks about patterns and kind of getting lost in relationships or getting lost in situations that aren't the best, It's sort of like a healthy relationship isn't going to cause you to be confused about it all the time, It's not going to be like you're going to be thinking all the time, what's going on with this relationship? Why haven't they called me? Or why are they not in my life anymore if the sex was so great or if things were so awesome? Like, why do I not hear from them? Or why do they treat me a certain way? Or like, why, sorry, we have the screaming kid again. Like what's going, like if you're having to ask what's going on with somebody all the time, it's just like the relationship isn't healthy in my estimation. A healthy relationship is where you don't have to ask the question. It's a no-brainer. Things are good. You're working on a relationship, you're dating, you're going out, things are progressing. You get engaged, you get married, you take things to the next level, you plan to have a family, you plan to move in, you plan to, have dual incomes, all that stuff. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I figured out who the screaming child was, and it looks like the screaming child is not wearing any clothing or something. I don't know. They may have gone out of the bath or something. But the screaming child is not in trouble or anything like that, just so you guys know. It started to worry me for a second. But yeah, like Do you see these two cards here? We have the Sage card, which to me a card about endings. It's sort of like it's like the skeletons in a closet energy. And then we have the dandelion as an outcome, which to me, the dandelion is one of the best cards. It's about being happy. So some of you absolutely need to work on this skeletons in closet issue. Either you need to get out of Dodge or get out of a relationship that you're already in order to have something else, or this energy is still needing to be cleared. There's some energy that needs to be cleared. Probably would recommend doing some healing energy, healing work. But I also feel like because this is the position of your attitude, to me, it's like you have a negative attitude about relationships. And part of it is because you've been hurt before. Skeletons in the closet to me equals like being hurt. Having dated multiple people, it is kind of exhausting if you've dated a lot of people and you're like, you haven't found your person. But at the same time, you have to have a positive attitude or else it's not going to happen. So I would encourage you to have a positive attitude no matter what you do or whatever situation you're in. And it does feel like, life is really interesting. And I found that a lot of people, this is very, very common actually, aren't necessarily in a place where they're going to meet somebody new. They would, if they moved or if they're in the process of moving, it's like the universe is like having them wait to meet somebody after they move. The plantain, you can see there's a map here. This can also indicate travel as well, but I feel like this for many of you is moving. There's a lot of work to move. So for some of you, it's like you could meet a person after you move, but the thing is too, is like, again, unless you clear out your crud of your past or of your relationships or of like your attitude, again, you could have a bad attitude. If you have a bad attitude about it, it's not going to happen. I'll tell you that, because in traditional tarot, if you have a bad attitude, it's just not going to happen. It blocks it. You are blocked it. You are blocking it. The universe isn't blocking it, but you're blocking it. I would tell you, like, to me, this is a very simple reading where most likely this is what's happening. You're kind of stuck on a situationship which isn't going anywhere. It's kind of a maze in which you can't get out of because you can't figure it out because it's too complicated, because it's not actually a real relationship. It's just not going anywhere. And you're stuck on somebody, or you're stuck on wanting it to go someplace, but it's just not going to. So you have to let that go first. And then most likely you're going to end up moving somewhere. And there's a chance for you to meet somebody after that, but after you move, only if you have a positive attitude. That's what I want to say. I'm going to pull one last card. Yeah, we have this cyclicality. I can't say it. Which to me is about seasons, and it's about growth, and it's about patterns. So again, some of you are learning about, to me, it's like you're learning about how to flow with the seasons of your life. There are seasons of life, and sometimes we don't even understand where we're at in life. All we know is that, we don't have necessarily what we want or what we need, or we're not in a relationship that we want to be in, or we're not dating the kind of people that we want to date, or, we're not in a marriage that we want to be in. So again, like, that's all we know. But later in time, we look back at things and go, yes, that was the season of this, or that was the season of that. That is when I learned all this beautiful stuff. And the seasons of my life where maybe, I didn't date anybody, that was like a whole season in itself of self-discovery, of self-understanding, of learning how to create boundaries, of learning how to do me, It actually was refreshing because I wasn't dating so much. The seasons where I dated heavily, and guys were, everywhere, were different seasons altogether. I was learning like what kind of kisser I wanted, and like how I wanted guys to treat me, and who would call and who wouldn't call, and why they wouldn't call, and should hooking up with them too fast, or not going slow enough in a relationship to get to know them, or for them to get to know me. Understanding about building relationships, understanding that part of it was just fun, and part of it was being in the moment and having an experience. That was a season of itself. So again, some of you are in different seasons of your life. Some of you, like, you've already raised your children and it's time for you to enter a new season of dating or a new season with relationships. But it's important for you to value the seasons that have come before and understand those seasons were just as valuable and just as important. All the time that you have alone as a single person is just as valuable as if you were with someone or dating someone or having a long-term relationship. A lot of times we idealize the long-term relationship as something that we absolutely have to have and that's, we absolutely want. But then we get into it and we're like, this shit sucks. You know what I mean? Or this person isn't treating us right, or this person isn't romantic, or this person isn't blah, blah, blah. And some people get into a marriage and realize it was a huge mistake. Realize that the person that they're married to isn't who they want to be with for the rest of their life, or they don't even like them that much, or like they don't even know. I've met some married people who don't even know if they love their partner. And I wonder how they went through the motions of getting married without really fully knowing that. But there's a lot of people who are not in touch with their emotions. And there's a lot of people who go through the motions because it's what somebody else wants, or it's what somebody else is expecting of them, or it's what their family told them that they had to do. So again, it's like some of you really need to really start to think about where you're at in the season of your life. And value it 100%. You can be really young in watching this and really not even have had like a full season yet. Like, you're having maybe a partial season, because, you were, out of high school and now you're in college and it's like, you're in your first season of relationships and you're just sort of sampling what life has to offer. And you're just trying to figure out what is it that you want? Do you want to get married someday? Do you want to have kids someday? Do you want to date, multiple people at once? Or do you want to date one at a time? Or do you want, somebody who, I don't know, is really artsy, or somebody who's really into science, or somebody who's really, kind of tomboyish and goes skateboarding, or somebody who's, kind of more studious and kind of like a bookworm. I mean, like, these are the kinds of things that, you're trying to figure out in your first season. Okay. And then after that, you go through, you can have many seasons in a short period of time, but like every season that you go through with relationships, whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship, is just as important. So it's all valuable. And I don't think they don't. This is like a class I should teach, I swear to God, where they just do not teach it to you in school about this. Essentially, all they teach you is this linear line. They teach you like this straight ass line that looks like this, that looks flat. Okay. That is what you're expected to have in relationships. They don't teach you about any of this circular shit. They don't teach you about valuing the cycles or the seasons of life. I mean, they don't even teach us in school what fruits or vegetables are in season. They don't talk about that. Nobody knows what's in season or what is going on even in the seasons. Like right now we're in the springtime, but like people could be eating, let's just say, root vegetables, which are a cold crop. They could be eating broccoli, which is also cold. But they might not have been taught that that is a seasonal vegetable. So again, understanding the seasons, understanding where you're at in life, understanding the flow of time and of life is very important. Some of you are hoping that in time you're going to get to the sunshine. Some of you are hoping that you can skip some steps. Nothing can get skipped here as far as I'm concerned. We all have to learn these lessons at some point in life. So my suggestion would be take some notes, figure out where you're at, decide what you want, and then clear clear house. Whatever it is that you're dragging around, whether it's emotional baggage, whether it's an ex-boyfriend, or whether it's a freaking old lover, whether it's somebody who's married, somebody who's in another relationship, whatever it is you're dragging, in order to become, essentially you're trying to become this sunshine, but you can't do it without doing the work. You cannot do it where you're taking the shit that you've done in the past with you. You can learn from the stuff that you've done in the past, but you cannot take that with you, because it's like taking crud into a beautiful space. It's like taking crud into a new home. You don't want to track that in. You just don't. Sorry, I'm losing my focus here. Is that better? Sorry. There we go. So, yeah, like some of you were trying really hard. You're trying really hard to get to this spot. And the other thing too, and I'm just going to say this too, is if you're not happy, you're not going to get to your happy, like if you're wanting happily ever after and you're not happy, you don't know what you want, you're not going to get there. I'll tell you honestly, it's just not going to happen. And I'll tell you that the truth is because you can't go out into the world unhappy and expecting to meet a radiantly glowingly happy person who's going to come up to you and be like, I'm here to turn your life all around and make you the happiest woman in the world, or to make you the happiest man in the world. That just does not happen. Okay. That's just not, does not, no. And I always say that sadness and depression are like a anti-guy repellent. Okay. The thing that attracts the male species is a big smile on your face with lipstick and the low-cut shirt. I mean, it's the thing. It's like men are attracted to colorful things. So, and people, not just men, are attracted to colorful, shiny, happy objects. If you saw a sad person on the street crying, that's depressed, that's wearing raggedy clothes, you're not going to want to talk to them. It's just like a repellent kind of thing. It's like a lack of attraction. You're going to be like, no, I can't help that person over there. That person has to help themselves. That's the way you're going to see it. That's how everybody sees it, which is why if you're in this place, let's just say hypothetically, you're in this place of depression, you're in this place of sadness, you're in this place of why the F is everything going to shit, okay? It's going to be really, really hard for you to get to this, whatever this energy is. It's blocking you. Your sadness can block, depression can block, shame and guilt can block, all negative stuff can block. Let's just say you're dealing with a negative person. Let's just say you have a negative partner. Your negative partner can block your happiness. Let's just let's just set aside relationships for a second and say this spread is about you. If you're dealing with this person, like another person, or say you are depressed, you're not going to get to this. You're not going to get to this happiness. And some of you are hoping and praying that some way, somehow, by some miracle, you're going to get to this happily ever after without understanding any of the tests and lessons that you're being shown. You're like, I'm just going to skip. I'm just going to push through. I'm just going to ignore everything. I'm just going to shut down because I don't want to learn anything. Because why should I have to go through all that in order to get to this? Basically, that's what the thing is. And some of you, it's a seriously karmic lesson in which the universe is saying to you, you have an opportunity to learn this. You have an opportunity to understand that if you don't learn this, it's going to repeat. You're going to get more confusion, more people taking advantage of you, more people who don't understand boundaries, more people that are the douchebags and the assholes, and the people that just make you confused as AF because you're like, you can't ever figure out what they're doing because they're not open, they're not emotionally available, and they have no intention of being with you. You're going to continue to miss all the signs and signals in your life and in everybody else's life. You're going to miss all of the beautiful things that each season of your life has to offer you. You're going to miss out on all the things that actually are blessings in your life. And you're going to see it as that, you're in a shitty state of mind or you're in a shitty state of relationships as a single person, but that's not actually true. You're going to miss all the blessings that come with being a single person, all the blessings that come with being in a marriage as like a contrast. All the blessings that come when you don't have kids and all the blessings that come when you do have kids. And miss the fact that like in time, there's all this growth that can happen. And there's all this potential that can happen. And there's multiple possibilities on every given day, on any given day, to have something beautiful, but also to make something beautiful. And the things that I learned in the winter time, like about making things, about making like my pine needles baskets and foraging wood, I was able to sell in the springtime. I didn't learn about all of the making stuff in the hard times. I learned in the winter time of life. So you have to like understand what's the winter time of your life? Where are you at? What season are you at? Are you going through a hard time? Are you in the winter? What are you making? Because you have to, if you're in a winter period, let's just say a winter time of your life, you have to learn how to make stuff. You have to learn how to dig deep into your creativity and turn your life around and make something out of nothing, because that's the only way to get through the winter. It's the roots. It's the deep. It's figuring things out. And if you're, let's just say, in the summertime of your life, where you're blossoming, you're fully blossoming, and you're like, well, where's my person? I'm fully blossomed. What's happening? Then you're not understanding, essentially, how in relationships, just because you're blossoming doesn't necessarily mean that another person is going to see you. You could be fully blossomed and fully ready, and yet somebody else doesn't see you because of their ego. But then you cannot go into this place of despair and bitterness if that happens, because you're learning how to see the beauty in yourself, how to love yourself, how to be a fully blossomed person and fully developed person and not necessarily need a relationship, and how to get through life on your own. So yeah, it's quite a lot actually. Basically, and I have to say, with karma repeats. So you're going to get more. You will get more of this. You will get more until you say, okay, what's the lesson here? What is it that I'm learning? And actually really let it hit home. Like, some of you need to ask yourself, what is it that the universe wants me to learn here? What is it? And you can tell the universe to dial it back. You can say, this is too much. I've had enough. If you're at a point where you're like, okay, I'm maxed out. But I feel like for many of you, like, I feel like you're wanting to get to something in which, first of all, you already have this. And you can make this. But I feel like you're wanting to get to it via a route that's not possible. Like, it's not possible to take a douchebag and turn them into this beautiful, happily ever after energy. It's not possible. It's not possible to take an ex, something that's broken, something that's damaged, and fix it up and to turn it into something happily ever after. And it is not possible to get to this happiness, without understanding the cycle of life. Because if you were to get to this point, let's just say hypothetically, believing that you're going to meet your Mr. or Mrs. Right and you're going to live happily ever after, the universe is going to test you with this and be like, guess what? People die and that partner will die. Guess what? People don't live forever. And, maybe friends will pass, family will pass, children pass. All kinds of shit happens when you're in a relationship. All kinds of shit happens when you have something amazing, only to test you, to see how you manage it and to see how you appreciate it, what you have in that moment. And also to teach you about life. And the life is not like, okay, we are all striving to get to this happily ever after point. Although some of you may want this, but only because you think that you're going to feel a certain way when you get there. But the irony is that like pretty much every married couple I've ever met has encountered some serious problems. Life does not necessarily become a bowl of cherries just because you're married. No, like you still have to go through death. You still have to go through change. You still have to go through childbearing. You still have to raise kids. You still have to do the work. So essentially, for some of you, I have to tell you that it feels like you're either unwilling to do the work, or you just don't want to do the work, or you don't see why it's important to learn why these other lessons are valuable. And it may take more time, and I'm not saying that, this is blocked permanently, but from what I can see, it really mirrors the Andromeda energy of what I was saying before. And these are just things for you to think about. Later in time, things can always shift. I pulled the last card, which is the Hawthorn card, and this is about finding your home and putting down roots and feeling nourished. Some of you really want, maybe it's to settle down, maybe to find a person to settle down with. And I think that in time, it's possible to have that. But you have to do the work and make it happen if it's not happening naturally. Number one. So let's just say hypothetically, you didn't have the opportunity to have kids. You would need to go through the process of adopting, okay? Or, adopting fur babies. A lot of people do that as well. If for whatever reason you did not get, let's just say, your Mr. or Mrs. right, you would need to work harder at making that happen. Putting yourself out there a lot more. Let's just say hypothetically, you didn't ever have the kind of home life that you wanted as a child. You would need to actually make a home that felt good to you and work on making it a home. So these are things that are coming up here. I'm going to leave off here. Thank you guys so much for being amazing fans and followers. If you'd like to donate, you can donate through PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. All the links are going to be in the description box below. And hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. I send everyone big hugs, big kisses. And I will talk to you guys again soon. All right, take care.